Coming up on ncIMPACT.
Students had a stake in the game. They were involved in not only their coursework at the college, but they were involved in volunteer service and giving back to a community that had invested in them.
North Carolina's workforce needs are changing. We'll find out how communities are creating solutions for employers and their future employees. This is ncIMPACT.
ncIMPACT is a PBS North Carolina production in association with the University of North Carolina School of Government. Funding for ncIMPACT is made possible by
changing the course of people's lives. That's the impact UNC Health and the UNC School of Medicine work to deliver every day. Our 40,000 team members across the state of North Carolina are committed to caring for you, our patients and communities, as well as educating the next generation of healthcare professionals. Individually, we can do a little, but collectively, we can do a lot to create impact.
Welcome to ncIMPACT. I'm Anita Brown-Graham. Our workforce is changing as more and more jobs require some education and training beyond high school. These credentials earned after high school can open many doors, but the journey toward them isn't always easy. In fact, research suggests that's especially true if you are the first person in your family to take the journey. ncIMPACT's Sloan Heffernan spoke with two first-generation college students about the challenges and rewards of higher education.
A student is considered first generation if their parents didn't graduate from college. According to the online Journal for Workforce Education and Development, nearly 50% of today's college students fall under this definition. Khalees Johnson is the first in her family to attend college. She says it's been quite a ride.
I would say it definitely has been a roller coaster coming here.
As a first-generation college student at NC State, she says there have been more ups than downs.
And I think that's the biggest thing that I learned is being able to advocate for myself and saying, like, this is what I want and how can I get there.
Johnson says she didn't feel as prepared as some of her peers when she first arrived on campus.
And I feel like people who come from parents with degrees, they are taught that from the very beginning of like how to approach someone, how to network with someone, how to make your connections known with that person.
Zane Reap says he also struggled as a first-generation college student at NC State.
It's just the resources, it's just the knowledge, it's just knowing what's out there.
Finding resources to pay for college was one of the biggest hurdles. Reap says growing up, his family struggled financially.
I didn't really have a lot of new clothes, not knew anything really. I've always had used stuff. But I've come to appreciate that. I've come to really appreciate kind of the history behind things.
Reap is now making history himself. He will be the first in his family to receive a college diploma in May.
I'm very excited that I can not only, I guess, make my mom proud, make my mom happy, as we all want to, as we all should, I believe, but also kind of feel pride in myself that I have managed to accomplish this goal.
This soon-to-be college grad believes he will have greater opportunities than his parents had thanks to a college education.
I see it as priceless and as something that I will have the rest of my life and something that can further benefit me down the line.
Johnson says with a college education, she's ready to take on the world.
My vision is to change the world, but I want to do that through I want to work in public health, so changing health behaviors of certain communities.
Johnson says she hopes her degree will help her find a good job, make good money, and avoid the financial struggles her family faced growing up.
As a first-generation student, one thing that I learned is very hard to kind of see yourself in certain situations because no one else around you has been there before. And so some things may seem impossible, but they're not impossible.
The graduation rate for first-generation students is low. Among adults whose parents have no college experience, only 20% completed their degrees versus 60% of those who had at least one parent with a bachelor's degree.
Thank you so much, Sloan. Joining me now is Doug Edgerton. Doug is the president and CEO of the North Carolina Biotechnology Center. Doug, you represent an important and ever-growing sector in our state's economy. Yeah. Talk to us about the importance of post-secondary education in your sector, and what does it mean when you think about the workforce needs ahead?
Thank you for having me today. I tell you, the life science sector has continued to grow since about 1984 when the Biotech Center was founded. The industry has grown from about 5 companies to about 805 companies spreading across North Carolina. And as those companies have grown in the last 2 years, we've added 70 new or expanded companies needing about 8,000 employees with all types of skill sets. Everything from a certificate program from the community colleges through a PhD. But the majority of the jobs are found in the certificate and undergraduate level programs. And so we think post-secondary education is critical for an industry that has a need to make sure people understand the basics of what they're doing. If you think about you're putting things into human bodies, you want to make sure people don't contaminate that and they understand the processes. So it is really a bit of following particular things called good manufacturing process. And so we want people to get those early certificate programs if at all possible.
So Doug, you've said a lot in response to my first question. You've made clear how large this sector is and how much we can expect it to grow. You've talked about the fact that you don't always need a 4-year degree. A high-value credential would work. Pause on that for a moment. When you say credential, certificate, what are you talking about? What does that mean to the average viewer?
Right. So a credential could be as little as a 2 or 3 week training program. In Greenville, we have a program called the Pharmaceutical Services Network, and that program actually prepares people to know how to manage equipment that stamps tablets and makes those little capsules that you use to put, you're used to contact and things like that in there. So that can be a 2 or 3 week program, all the way through a 2-year degree or going on for 4-year or post baccalaureate degrees. So there's a whole variety of opportunities for really well-paying, life-changing careers that don't require you to have a PhD or to be a scientist.
Now, every parent out there wants you to define well-paying.
Well-paying. Okay. So the average income that is earned in the life sciences is $112,000, which is about twice that of the normal job market in North Carolina. If you are a certificate program recipient, you can probably start off in the low 50s and work your way up. What I tell people is, I said, that's the starting point. Remember that this is a career opportunity. I don't call these jobs. These are career opportunities, life-changing careers. If you get with one of these large companies or even some of the smaller ones, you can expect to continually add to your knowledge base over time, which makes you more and more valuable to the company. So,
Doug, hold on that. We'll get back to you when we have our roundtable. I got more questions for you.
Perfect.
Some students who want to continue their education after high school simply can't afford it. In Davie County, community leaders are seeing success with a program removing financial barriers. ncIMPACT's David Hurst joins us with more on the Ignite Davie program.
Anita, Ignite Davie is a college promise program. This means that high school graduates who live in Davie County can attend the local community college at no cost. In just 2 years, it's making an impact on students, their families, and the community. Merrick Killian has always wanted to follow in his mother's footsteps.
We had a lot of take your kid to work days, so I was at my mom's health care and grew up around patients all the time, and it was just, I think I looked up to her, and that's what I want to do nowadays, is just help people.
I know with
the sophomore at Davidson Davie Community College is one of the many participants in the Ignite Davie program. The program covers the tuition and fees for Davie County high school graduates who attend the community college.
We knew that there probably was about a third of students at the high school who, upon graduation, didn't go anywhere post-secondary. And so, that was really initially the audience that we were thinking about targeting, that we really wanted to make sure students who maybe didn't have the resources would have the resources to pursue post-secondary education.
The program began in the fall of 2020, and it immediately tripled enrollment at the community college. It's creating opportunities for students who didn't think a post-secondary education was possible.
This Ignite Davie program is solving a crisis, a student debt crisis. Students that participate in this program will not have major debt from their first 2 years of college, debt that would follow them into the future, debt that would follow them as they're trying to get their feet on the ground, start their first career, or even start their family.
County leaders say it's not only providing opportunities for students, but it's helping fill workforce needs and enticing families to move to or stay in the area.
The goal really is, how do you get your community to become younger and have a younger workforce? I believe in today's world, a family moving here knowing that they could get post 2 years of college education paid for their family, that's a big bonus.
Those in the community will tell you that Ignite Davie is truly a homegrown effort built on local partnerships. And Ignite Davie has a twist that makes it different from other College Promise programs.
So we wanted this program to be unique in that students had a stake in the game. They were involved in not only their coursework at the college, but they were involved in volunteer service and giving back to a community that had invested in them.
For Merritt Killian, medical school is in the plans for his future, so it makes a big help to save some money early in his post-secondary education journey.
This program, looking back at it, I would do it 100 times over again. There were just so many opportunities, so many incentives for students like me to pursue an education after high school, whether that be technical or transfer degree.
Killian looks forward to giving back to his community by one day working in the medical field. It's a goal that he says may not have been possible without Ignite Davie. Ignite Davie is paid for by the community through donations. Community leaders say their goal is to soon expand their efforts into Davidson County as well.
Thank you so much, David. Joining me now is Allison Goff-Clark. Allison is the Deputy Director of North Carolina Programs for the Hunt Institute. Allison, so great to have you join us.
Thanks, Anita.
Help our viewers understand, what is the impact of College Promise programs like the one we just saw?
It's so important to think about ways that we can ensure that students and their families know that higher education is truly a possibility for them. And Promise programs that provide free or reduced cost tuition do that. We're really lucky in North Carolina to have local initiatives like Ignite Davie, but also to have our Longleaf Commitment grants that provide grant access at our community colleges across the state, and also the North Carolina Promise program that provides reduced tuition at 4 of our public institutions. And one thing I have to lift up about Ignite Davie is you heard them say that it includes coverage of fees. They also have a textbook stipend. In addition to tuition cost, we know that the total cost of attendance can still be a barrier for students. So thinking about ways to be sure that communities are coming together to think beyond tuition alone about that total cost of attendance is a really important piece of Promise programs. And we're seeing some really great partnerships in North Carolina that do just that.
That's pretty amazing and certainly promising. Finances, though, are not the only barrier that students face in considering or pursuing post-secondary education. So talk to us about some of the barriers beyond money.
Yes, it's a complicated process. Knowing how to navigate the application process, how to navigate financial aid, especially for those students who are first-generation students. We have some great partnerships in the state through Gear Up, College Advising Corps, the career coaches through the North Carolina Community College system, all of which work in middle schools and high schools to help students think about their careers, what may be possible for them after high school, and help them understand those pathways to career and life-sustaining wages. And we also have to lift up our cooperative innovative high schools, our dual enrollment opportunities that all exist through Career and College Promise. At the Hunt Institute, when we travel across the country and lift up best practices for policymakers, we always talk about Career and College Promise. It's pretty powerful for high schoolers to have free access to courses in colleges, to graduate with an associate's degree alongside their high school diploma, or graduate, with half of the credits they're going to need in order to earn a degree. So I think that that's something North Carolina is doing a great job of, and we should be really proud of.
So I'm going to come back, Allison, and ask you what else North Carolina needs to do to make post-secondary education more accessible to more people. At this point, we're going to turn to another story. More than half of formerly incarcerated people hold only a high school diploma or GED. These are credentials that increasingly don't have much value in today's job market. Certainly not the value they had a generation ago. ncIMPACT's Evan Howell shows us a creative partnership in Pamlico County that is helping inmates find employment after they're released.
Yes, I can do 500 for that.
When Adonis Atkins got sent to Pamlico Correctional, he didn't want that to be the last chapter in his life.
I was going to be a psychologist. I always wanted to be a therapist my entire life.
But what he ultimately found was a second chance. Thanks to a partnership with Pamlico Community College, Atkins enrolled in a unique associate's degree program. Today, he runs a trucking dispatch company outside of Charlotte. The program he took is called Human Service Technology, which centers around learning life skills, including how to write a business letter, promote teamwork, and how to improve anger management.
It taught me how to control my own emotions, but also be able to look outside and understand somebody else's. And I think that was huge about the big thing about the program was it was bigger than just class.
98% would recommend it to other offenders.
The HST program is thanks to Jim Ross, president of Pamlico Community College, who got invited to visit the prison on his second day at work back in 2018.
To have a mindset as they leave, they are now a college graduate. And this self-image allows them to go out and not only change their life for the better, but it keeps their kids from going into crime.
We do. I'm glad that we're part of it.
The partnership between the college and the prison is a key factor in making this program a success. But bridging that cultural gap between the two has been a challenge at times.
To us, they still students. I had a guy one day that was about tears, and I'm like, man, what's up with you, man? He said, you call me mister. I'm like, well, you are mister. He said nobody ever showed him that kind of respect in there. And so that kind of moved him to be referred to as mister.
The Pamlico Prison Education Program is the largest of its kind in the state. That growth comes with other challenges like space and teaching staff. But instructors focus on what the end goal is, which is helping build a skilled workforce.
Just because you're a felon and you've gotten in trouble doesn't mean you can't, do things to make our lives better.
ETA to pick up is...
Atkins says the skills he learned in HST helped him not only do better in business, but gave him the focus to create a better life for himself.
And it gives you the feeling of, okay, maybe I'm not in here by myself. And you start making friends and you start having guys that you can rely on, or at least have somebody to talk to.
He says when those fellow inmates become friends and even colleagues, it's not just a new crop of employees graduating, but the groundwork for a healthy community. For ncIMPACT, I'm Evan Howell.
Thank you so much, Evan. Let's bring back our experts, and joining us for our ncIMPACT Roundtable is MC Belk-Pylan. MC is the president of the John M. Belk Endowment. MC, it's hard to imagine there's anybody who doesn't already know about the Belk Endowment, but just in case, would you say a few words about what the endowment is and how is it working to remove some of the barriers for North Carolinians who are seeking to access post-secondary education?
Sure. Thank you, Anita, for having us on, and it's great to be on with Doug and Allison as well. At the John Belk Endowment, our mission is to transform post-secondary education to meet our state's evolving workforce needs. We evolved out of a retail industry where product moved overseas and impacted local, small, and medium-sized towns and the workforce and the communities in which they served. We also have seen technology upend and uproot businesses, and whether it's in transportation or healthcare across our state at the same time. And so when we set out with this mission, it was solely rooted in what was best for North Carolina communities and what their workforce will look like for today, tomorrow, and the future.
So, Allison, can you just weigh in here for a second and maybe offer us an example of strong partnerships that are doing exactly what MC said we must do much more of to close the gap we currently face?
Absolutely. I think as we think about engaging our adult learners especially, we're seeing opportunities for private industry to partner with their local community colleges to build out credential pathways that can meet specific needs of those industries that are coming in. We're certainly seeing those in Chatham County, where we know there has been a lot of new industry coming in. They're going to be thinking about ways to engage adult learners in that community, to upskill and reskill them so that they have those credentials needed to jump in and support some of those jobs that are coming to the county.
Doug, I want you to jump in on this conversation if you might. We've talked a lot about different types of partners, but what is the role for employers to actively partner with educational institutions and others in local communities in order to enhance our workforce?
So clearly the employers have a really big role in defining what kind of curriculum is taught, so that if in the life sciences in particular, we're looking more towards STEM activities. We also work closely with the military on people transitioning out of the United States military, and North Carolina is a big group, so we have a program called MOVE, and that is the military, a way to engage military spouses and military into these training programs the industry has defined.
So industry is defining programs, and I'm pushing back on this for Allison, MC, anybody else. What other roles can employers play? Because obviously we hear from employers all the time, we can't find skilled workers, we can't find skilled workers. They can help define the credentials they need, certainly. What else can they be doing in communities?
I would encourage employers to think about the total need of a community beyond just the courses. What are other barriers to workers being able to enter the field? Childcare and access to childcare is a huge part of this conversation. We're all aware of how important childcare has always been, but that became really evident during the pandemic. But we know that a limited childcare workforce, limited childcare seats across the state are all impacting employers' ability to find employees and to know that those employees are going to be able to reliably show up to work every day. So I would encourage employers to think about the role they play overall in communities.
MC, do you want to weigh in on that?
Sure. I would encourage businesses at the local level to reach out to their community college presidents. I don't think our state fully grasped the role and the economic engine that community colleges play in keeping businesses and industry in their local county. I know in the western part of the state, there is a community college that has a Toyota plant, and they were thinking about leaving state because they couldn't educate their workers on the new tech packages that they're putting into trucks that haven't even launched yet. But the community college president and the local factory rep from Toyota had conversations, and they created a local program that now they're training this workforce that doesn't even exist yet, that's going to be able to step in on day one when these batteries are launched and have the skill set as well as keep that company in North Carolina.
I think this is a conversation that we could have for many, many hours, and I'm really excited by all of the resources and good stories you all have changed. I want to end with asking a question to Allison. For a long time, North Carolina imported a lot of its talent. Why isn't that strategy a winning strategy going forward?
It's a good question, Anita, and what I would say is never forget to bet on North Carolinians. We have a huge, ample supply of residents in this state who, given the opportunity to access higher education, are going to jump in. They're going to take advantage of those opportunities. They're going to learn. They're going to obtain those degrees and credentials, and they're going to be on the path to life and family sustaining wages that are going to support their communities and are going to ensure we're meeting the needs of our workforce overall.
I love that. And for our viewers who think that I'm not excited about new people moving to North Carolina, I'm an import. Most of us are imports. So this is not an either or, but I think the point you're making is everybody should have the opportunity to the kinds of jobs that Doug's companies are creating and the kinds of avenues or pathways that MC is making possible. Thank you all for joining us and for the important work you do in this state. And of course, thank you to all the local leaders who were featured in this episode. They trust us to share their inspirational stories, and we do not take that for granted. Of course, we never end the show without thanking our amazing audience for watching and engaging. You all know that there are solutions out there if we find ways to work together. Thank you. We want you to tell us what your community is doing or how we can help you. You can email us at ncimpact@unc.edu or send a message on Twitter or Facebook. And be sure to join us every Friday night at 7:30 on PBS North Carolina for new episodes of NC Impact. Coming up on NC Impact, rising food prices are pushing many into food insecurity. We'll find out how communities are helping people access fresh and affordable food.
NC Impact is a PBS North Carolina production in association with the University of North Carolina School of Government. Funding for NC Impact is made possible by
changing the course of people's lives. That's the impact UNC Health and the UNC School of Medicine work to deliver every day. Our 40,000 team members across the state of North Carolina are committed to caring for you, our patients and communities, as well as educating the next generation of healthcare professionals. Individually, we can do a little, but collectively, we can do a lot to create impact.